that big man's back.
What will you have after 500 years?
Joseph Conrad. I want to talk about Invincible. Invincible is a comic book and a TV show created by Robert Kirkman, with the first issue coming out way back in 2003? Jeez, Gramps over here. People barely even knew how to work the printing press. And freaking Halo Combat evolved back then. Now you want him to read a comic book? Freaking 3,000 pages? Give me a break. So Invincible follows the young Mark Grayson, half man, half extraterrestrial from the planet Viltrum, as he navigates life and finds out what it means to be a teenage superhero, as he takes on the evil Viltrumite Empire. Ooh, spooky. And you know they're evil because they all have mustaches. That's a classic tell of a tainted soul. Now in the past 6 years, Invincible has taken on a second life as an animated TV series which just wrapped up its 4th season. When people see a comic book / cartoon about a teenage superhero, they're quick to dismiss it. You might even be doing that right now. Don't think I don't see you. But I'm here, living in your computer, to tell you that Invincible has a lot more to it than meets the eye. Shout out to Optimus Prime. The more I've looked into Invincible, the more similarities I find between it and stories like The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Now, Invincible is a story about superheroes and the government and the Viltrum Empire and this guy named Business Baby, but it's also so much more than that. Invincible is a direct allegory for the colonization of the Americas and the scramble for Africa. Buckle your seatbelts, because today I'm here to talk to you about... So what the hell is post-colonial literature? Look, I hear you asking that question, but can you please stop asking? I hear you, I gotta make the video. I'm getting there. Jeez. So post-colonial literature in its simplest form is any literature from a group of people or a nation that was previously part of a larger colonial system. Think Native American literature. Think Algeria. But for the purposes of our video, think about the Belgian Congo. But where does Invincible come into all this? Jeez, dude, stop asking questions. I gotta make the video first. Jeez. So before we start talking about aliens and their battles and this guy named Dinosaurus, we have to talk about The Heart of Darkness. The Heart of Darkness is a novella from 1899 which follows a man named Charles Marlowe as he takes a riverboat through the Belgian Congo during the height of its colonization. I highly recommend you go read this for yourself. It's not that long and it's really good. But for the purposes of this video, there's only so much you need to know. Marlowe is sent on this expedition to look for a man named Kurtz. Kurtz is highly praised for his efficacy as an ivory harvester and a rubber harvester. Now, of course, it's not actually Kurtz who's doing the harvesting. His name is just on the results. Kurtz is an insane genocidal racist, and he orders the people he's enslaved through atrocity. And of course, it's Marlowe's job to find Kurtz. Kurtz is so violently racist, he even hates the people he's enslaved, going as far as to say that it's the duty of him and the other European colonists to, quote, exterminate all the brutes. It's crazy stuff. If it isn't obvious, a major theme of The Heart of Darkness is race. I know, it's crazy stuff. Subscribe for more literary analysis. But seriously, it's obvious, but race plays an enormous factor in The Heart of Darkness. These colonizing characters, namely Kurtz, practice othering to the most extreme degrees. For those of you who don't know, othering is a process detailed in post-colonial literature, by which these colonizing forces create arbitrary distinctions to justify their atrocities against the people they're oppressing. Think phrenology. You know, when you read the bumps on someone's skull to determine their race and their tendencies. Yeah, it's not that smart. Othering is coming up with a reason to justify subjugation or total erasure of another culture by any means necessary. Othering is a crucial aspect of colonization. If you don't see the people you're hurting as people, in your mind, there's nothing wrong. Kurtz called these people brutes for a reason. It made it easier to do these horrible things to them. Did you get all that? Good. Because now we can talk about Invincible. Spoilers ahead for Invincible. I'm serious. So Mark Grayson, or as he's known in the streets, Invincible, is the main character of his own series. And his dad, Nolan Grayson, or as he's known in the streets, Omni-Man, is an alien called a Viltrumite. And Viltrumites have superpowers. Think Kryptonians, but with less swag and more mustaches and genocidal tendencies. The Viltrumites use their great power to become a galactic ruling class. And their whole thing is that they rule by force and will completely erase a species if they don't bend to their will. And Mark's dad is one of these guys. So Mark is half Viltrumite and half human. You see where I'm going here? Mark is intergalactically biracial. Shout out to logic. And the Viltrumites know this, and they don't let Mark forget it. Viltrumites, mainly their leader, Grand Regent Thrag, make a big deal about being a pure-blooded Viltrumite. And Mark, even though he looks like them and has their same abilities, and frankly, packs up a couple of them, isn't that. This is the one-drop rule in space. The Viltrumites view humanity as below them. They other them as a means to justify their genocide. When Omni-Man attacks the Earth, he calls Mark's mother, the woman that this fool has been married to for 20 years. He calls her a pet. The Viltrumites don't see humans as people. Is this ringing a bell? This goes even further when we're introduced to Mark's little brother, who's half Viltrumite and half this thing, a Thraxan. Omni-Man was getting around, man. This guy's got a lot of kids. The other Viltrumites will acknowledge Mark, but they rarely acknowledge Oliver. They view him as so far below them, he's not even real.
Hey, dickhead! A black hole call. He wants it sucked back!
You are not one of us.
The Viltrumites love to talk big game about being a pure-blooded Viltrumite and what it means to be a Viltrumite. But even they don't really believe that. Omni-Man was sent to Earth to see if they could interbreed with humans, quite literally searching for someone to taint their bloodline. And they love to claim that Mark isn't a real Viltrumite until it conflicts with their mission. Then they're more than willing to welcome him into their Viltrum Empire. The only problem with that is the person they sent to welcome him. The arrival of the Viltrumite Empire reminds me of a story about known freak Christopher Columbus. Not the story with the manatee though. That's another story for another video. I'm reminded about a story of him threatening Jamaican indigenous groups with the power they couldn't understand. Let me set the scene. The year is 1504, and in a couple days there's going to be a total solar eclipse. Columbus knew this because they could track it. Indigenous groups had no reason to know this. Columbus used his knowledge of astronomy to scare the indigenous people into bending to his will. Columbus and his homeboys, they were starving. So Columbus goes up to the natives and he tells them, "My God is more powerful than yours. And if you don't give me your food, my God is going to blot out the sun." The natives hear this and they're thinking, "What the hell is this guy talking about? Get a load of this guy." And then the sun blots out. And the natives, they give him their food. They didn't know. Columbus used what was perceived as a superpower to aid in his conquest. And he did do that stuff with the manatee. We can't forget that he did that. Do you remember that guy Kurtz from a few minutes ago? The crazy guy? Okay, good. Because the character we're going to talk about now has a lot of similarities with our pal Kurtz over here. A Viltrumite agent designed to reduce worlds. Born for conquest, who is aptly named Conquest. Conquest is an old man who is celebrated as one of the most effective world conquerors in the Viltrum Empire. Just like how Kurtz was celebrated as one of the most effective officers in the Belgian-occupied Congo. Both men relied on atrocity to convey their messages. They relied on what was perceived as supernatural power, just like Columbus. Of course, King Leopold, or for our story, Grand Regent Thrag, didn't care how Kurtz, or Conquest, got it done. All that mattered is that it was done. Imperialism removes all individuality from a people, reducing it all to a number, be it a kill count or a dollar amount. All these imperialist powers care to talk about is the number, the profit. In a chilling moment from the Season 3 finale of Invincible, we hear about Conquest. Not the Viltrumite agent, not the concept, but the man. He gives Mark a chilling monologue that's notably absent from the comic. He tells Mark that,
I am so lonely. All the other Viltrumites are scared of me.
he exists to conquer planets. He's quite literally Conquest personified. The Viltrumites fear him because he's good at what he does. In fact, he doesn't even get a real name. Omni-Man is named Nolan. Thrag is named Thrag. This guy is named Lucan. But Conquest is just Conquest. The Viltrumites are evil, but they give each other names. Conquest doesn't have a name. He has a purpose. He's been boiled down to his essential traits. He's scary and he's effective. Conquest isn't a man. Conquest is an idea. This is an aspect of post-colonial theory called essentialism, which, as the name suggests, reduces a group of people down to what is viewed as their essential attributes. So for Conquest, his essential attributes would be that he's effective and that he's scary. Nothing else matters. Later on in the story, Mark packs up Conquest on an alien world and leaves him there to die. When Mark tells Grand Regent Thrag about this, Thrag and the Viltrumites around him are without a doubt taken aback. But they don't mourn him, no. Instead, they're shocked that their essentialist view of Conquest has been proven wrong. The man they sent to get it done, to destroy with ease, was killed by someone that is half human, a race they view as entirely inferior. There are two types of essentialism. There's a more classic interpretation, which I just outlined if you were paying attention, when you reduce a group down to its simplest attributes. But there is another. Strategic essentialism is when a group defines themselves by their own shared characteristics. The Viltrumites do both of these, a lot. They define themselves as strong, as better, as the protectors of the universe. They're the strongest, so naturally, their viewpoints are the best, and apply to the whole universe. Classic colonialist stuff. So they strategically essentialize themselves while essentializing everyone else as weak and inferior. This is what makes Conquest's death so shocking for them, and what causes Thrag to lose his head at Mark and the people fighting them when he sees that someone who is half human, in his mind half irredeemable and deplorable, destroy the planet Viltrum. Now he did this with the help of two other Viltrumites, Nolan and Thetis, but that also hurts Thrag's essentialist view. He views all Viltrumites as an extension of himself. He even says as much. So when he sees 2.5 Viltrumites destroy their home planet, his essentialist view gets shattered along with it. And boy howdy, he does not like that. By the end of the comic series, Mark Grayson accepts his place as Emperor of the Viltrum Empire. And while he leads an era of peace and compassion, he is an emperor nonetheless. The worst of the Viltrumites' occupation is over, but its effects will be felt for the rest of time. This shows that imperialism can never be fully erased. Before Mark, the leader of the Viltrumites was the aforementioned Grand Regent Thrag. Well, it was Omni-Man for a few years, but we don't have to talk about that. But anyway, Mark leads his Viltrum Empire with kindness, but Thrag didn't do that. Thrag was to be feared, and that fear never truly goes away. People in the galaxy still shudder at the name Viltrumite, even years after the death of Thrag. In the very last issue of Invincible, after 500 years of Mark being the Viltrumite Empire, he still has to remind people that kindness is the new Viltrumite way. Mark did a lot of good, but the wrongs caused in the past can never truly be erased. We see this in the real world too. There's a reason people in the Congo don't name their kids Leo. You can change your actions, but imperialism leaves a lasting imprint on the people hurt by it. Throughout Invincible, our heroes fight side by side with a coalition of planets, a group of aliens that have come together to fight the Viltrum Empire. By the end of the comic, they're led by a powerful alien named Alan. And although Mark and Alan spent years as friends, fighting together in the Viltrumite War, they were comrades. Even if they were a different species, there was trust. But when Mark became the Emperor, there was a hesitancy on Alan's part, and they stopped communicating, and they even fight. And eventually, Alan agrees to dissolve the coalition. If the Viltrumites are peaceful now, there's no need to have it. And yes, Mark's agenda was for good. But after the dissolution of the coalition of planets, Mark still becomes a totalitarian. Invincible tells us that good can prevail over evil, and that no one is too far gone. But it also tells us that imperialism is a cycle. Mark Grayson is a good man, but he is still an emperor. Mark became emperor because he has the blood of the last Viltrumite emperor, Argal, in his veins. Thrag wasn't the emperor. He was something else, I guess. Mark does a lot of good, but he assumed power through force and through birthright. In a way, becoming part of the system he had fought and people he loved die over. Invincible is a great show, and a pretty good comic. I've told you a lot about it today, but there's so much I didn't get to talk about in this video, and I highly recommend you go give it a whirl. It's sick. I didn't even get to talk about Rexplode or Bulletproof. And you better thank God I didn't talk about the Immortal. God, I hate that guy. But that's all I have for you today. Invincible is a great deconstruction and celebration of what makes superheroes so iconic. But it's also a story about othering, essentialism, and imperialism. Thank you for watching. Please